Hey everyone, thanks so much for tuning in. In this video we're going to take a look at the Liong Mah Kitchen Utility Folder, or KUF for short. And this is one of the knives that I brought home from Blade Show. So I actually had both the carbon fiber and the micarta, but it's taken me so long to do the video that I actually sent the micarta one back to Liong Mah already, which means that I did prefer the carbon fiber of the two versions. Don't know why, just kind of did. So anyways, specs, overall impressions, and details, just like every video. This is what it ships with, the usual swag and so forth from Liong Mah. And let's jump into these specs. So in one of my last videos, I actually had someone complain and say that the Para 2 is not as universal a size comparison as I should use, and he recommended a pen, a couple other things, and I thought, you know what, that does have some merit, so let's go ahead and use a dollar bill as a size comparison. Not going to bust out any hundreds for size comparisons because I'm not rich, but hopefully that serves as a good size comparison. I think just about everyone has a dollar. If you don't, you know, and you're going to the public library to watch my videos, I mean, more power to you. Love the dedication. Let me know in the comments below. But spec-wise, looking at a blade length of 3.75 inches in a straight line here. Because of the blade shape, you actually have a 4-inch cutting edge. Handle length is 4.8 inches. The handle thickness comes in at 0.55 inches. And we'll go into the blade thickness in a bit more detail here in a minute, but the blade thickness, let's move that rather large dollar bill out of the way, and we have a blade thickness of 0.16 inches thereabout. So it does weigh in at 4.31 ounces on my scale. S35 VM blade steel, ceramic bearing, ceramic detent. This one, of course, is the carbon fiber. Has kind of a cool pattern to it. It's not perfectly symmetric, so I don't know, I kind of like that. But anyways, titanium frame lock flipper, titanium pocket clip, titanium pivot, of course, and the opening method is this opening hole. So, alright, overall impressions. You know, as the name would imply, what I assume Liong tried to do is create both, obviously, a utility folder and a kitchen knife. Now, because you're trying to do two things that could potentially be seen as opposite, there's going to be some compromise in one regard or the other. So, you know, with the flat grind here, it slices pretty well up until you hit about, you know, the thickest portion, the flat here on the blade stock, and then, you know, it starts to split things like apples and so forth. But it's an attractive design, great ergonomics. I think the sheep's foot shape overall is potentially non-threatening for such a large knife, so you could get away with using this at work for your lunch or what have you. But anyways, fit and finishes there. I've had really good experience with all of the Liong Mah designs, so yeah, it's another cool one to check out. It's different. You know, obviously there are a lot of companies doing these kind of kitchen utility folders right now, but Liong actually designed his first one back in 2003, 2004. Considering he was a professional chef for many years, obviously that makes sense. So anyways, cool knife, great design, great fit and finish, and let's get into the details. And we're going to spend a good bit of time here talking about the performance, blade thickness, so forth. So let's grab my calipers here, because this will be important, and I brought a kitchen knife from the kitchen. So let's talk about the thickness here on the blade. So as we mentioned, or as I mentioned, 0.1, it's about 0.16 inches here on my calipers. Where am I hitting? Yeah. Go all the way to the back here. So anyways, somewhere around 0.16 essentially. Now let's take a look at the thickness behind the edge. We're going to go right behind the edge as much as possible. Looking at 0.3. You guys can see where I'm hitting it. Let's go back a tiny bit further. 0.033. So obviously a pretty large transition going from, let's call it 0.033 all the way up to 0.16 or thereabout. So, again, with that flat grind, it's going to, essentially cut in this section here really well. I cut a number of things. So steak, apples, sliced through some carrots, and it accomplished those tasks with pretty good ease. With the apple, it did split once we got to the top here of the spine, or the thickest part at the flats. So that's where it split, the apple, but it was slicing through the apple for the most part. So essentially shorter items, or items that are not thicker here than the primary bevel, it's going to slice through no problem at all. So if you do really want to use this heavily for kitchen use, or, well, if you're at home and you're in the kitchen, use a kitchen knife, right? There's always a correct tool for the task. So here it is against one of my kitchen knives. And don't judge me, because I don't have really, really nice kitchen knives yet. Someday, perhaps. But here's the, thickness of the stock here on my kitchen knife. It's 0.1 inches versus the 0.16 here on the Liong Mah folder. So significant thickness difference, and obviously you're going to get better slicing performance out of a thinner blade stock. So, common sense, but obviously it's something I need to talk about here. So anyhow, it performs well, good ergonomics. The edge comes down here below the handle, so you can get some pretty nice cuts going with it. The jimping here on the spine of the blade, kind of that diagonal that he typically uses, but it's not as sharp as some of his other knives. And obviously that makes sense, because if you're doing some extensive cutting in the kitchen, which could be 10, 20, 30 minutes of slicing, possibly, you don't necessarily want some of this more aggressive jimping on his, everyday carry style knives, where, you do a couple cuts, you might use it for 30 seconds to a minute, and then you move on. But if you were gonna, use something with jimping like this for a long, long time, that's gonna get uncomfortable fairly quick. So here's the Tuxedo GSD, another model from Liong. But anyway, so that's kind of the discussion around a kitchen utility folder. The blade thickness gives it obviously a robust amount of steel here, so you're not going to break it. I see this primarily as a utility knife that could function for moderate meal prep, either camping, or if you're at work or something, or if you're on a job site at lunch. Yeah, it'll work just fine, no problem there. But are you going to take this and use it exclusively in the kitchen? I wouldn't. I have a full set of kitchen knives, but it's up to you. So anyways, going back to the blade here, opening method is this hole. Works really, really well with the spider flick or middle finger flick here, no problems. As far as getting my thumb in there, I do struggle a little bit. Sometimes I nail it, sometimes I miss it. Just depends on basically how I'm getting my thumb in there. So easiest method, definitely the middle finger flick here. S35VN, that's kind of another discussion point. So S35VN isn't something we see a lot in kitchen knives. Some of the other recent, like the Spidey Chef and other ones, they're using H1 or some type of highly corrosion resistant comparable, but the edge retention isn't necessarily the best, the toughness isn't necessarily the best. So with S35, you do get obviously better edge retention, you get better toughness, but it's still a pretty stainless, it's a stainless steel. And I asked Liong about that. I said, hey, why'd you go with S35VN? And he said he's used S35VN in his kitchen for a number of years, and he's never had any corrosion problems. So, this compared to, VG10 or H1 or whatever that long H2C something, I don't even recall right now, you're going to get a little bit better performance from the S35VN, and through normal maintenance, you shouldn't have any issues with rust. So if you are going to purposefully try to rust it, anything is possible, right? So should be common sense, but sometimes I feel like I have to say it in videos otherwise. So rounded tip here, but pretty cool. And it sits below the handle. Now ceramic bearings, ceramic detent, very smooth. And then being ceramic, they shouldn't have any problems with rust. Now, another change he did on this knife is the way he did the stop pin. So this is a standard fixed stop pin here, as you can see. It sits at the back of the handle. The majority of his knives, well, at least as of late, have used a stop pin that is attached to the blade, and then it goes through this essential channel on the titanium handle. The problem with this type of setup is it just gives you an opportunity to get too much stuff in there, and if you build up food or other things at the back here, it can actually affect the lockup to where the blade's not locking up properly. So that does need to be kept clean, of course, to have full opening. So anyways, for simplification, for cleaning purposes, he did switch to just a standard fixed stop pin. Carbon fiber handle. This one has a really interesting pattern, which I dig. And he did go ahead and essentially use a pretty thick piece and then milled away everything except for this integral back spacer to the front scale or show scale. Rounded scales, very comfortable. Did some pocketing or skeletonizing here on the inside of the titanium to keep that weight down, and the balance is very good. It's perfect right here where your index finger would be. Titanium pivot, given that blue coloration that matches the pocket clip. Lanyard hole, stainless steel lock insert, nice chamfering for ease of disengagement. Centering, spot on. Lockup, I don't know, probably 20-30%, somewhere around there. So yeah, so that's pretty much this knife right here. Again, thicker blade stock, S35VN. Cutting geometry is quite good. Great looking design and very comfortable in the hand. So there it sits in my extra large hand. Obviously plenty of room here if you did have larger hands. So anyways, that should be that. I can't think of anything else. And so back in 2003, 2004, when he first designed this, he did have Eddie Baca make him one. I haven't seen pictures of that knife yet, so I'm not sure if it's an exact replica of this one, or if this is an exact replica of the Eddie Baca build, or if it's similar, but that'll be something that I'll probably track down later to take a look at. Anyways, guys, thanks so much for watching. One last detail. This was obviously done in carbon fiber and micarta. Carbon fiber they made 90, micarta they only made 40, so if you're on the lookout for one version or another, keep in mind that the micarta may go quicker since there were less made. So alright, that'll wrap it up. Thanks for watching, guys. You can always follow me on Instagram for more daily content. Give me a thumbs up if you like the video, and I'll see you soon.